The council chamber was massive. It floated in space, a structure built by species so old that most races had forgotten their names. Inside, representatives from 200 worlds sat in their designated areas. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some were covered in fur, others in scales or metal-like skin. But today, they all watched the same thing. Commander Zethkor stood in the center speaking area. He was Cravathi, which meant he stood nearly 3 meters tall. His 4 arms were crossed over his armored chest. His species had conquered 12 star systems in the last 200 years. They were proud of this fact. Very proud. The Cravathi Empire demands the territory known as Sector 7, Zethkor announced. His voice was deep and confident. The humans have 3 colonies there. We need those worlds for our expansion. They are wasted on such a weak species. A murmur went through the chamber. Some species shifted in their seats. Others made sounds of concern in their various languages. The translation devices worked quickly to help everyone understand. Ambassador Thelvar rose slowly from his seat. He was from one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His people had been traveling the stars when the Cravathi were still learning to make fire. He was thin and tall, with silver skin that seemed to glow slightly. His eyes were completely black, showing nothing of what he thought. But his voice carried weight that made even Zethkor pause. Commander Zethkor, Thelvar said calmly, the Council does not grant territory based on demands, especially not human territory. They are under Council protection. Zethkor laughed. It was a harsh sound that echoed in the chamber. Protection? From what? We have studied the humans. They have no natural weapons. Their bodies are weak. They need clothing to survive most climates. Their technology is average at best. Their military is small compared to ours. He gestured broadly, with one of his 4 arms. Why does the Council protect such a species so carefully? What makes them special? Thelvar's expression did not change. You have studied their biology. You have studied their technology. But you have not studied their history. History? Zethkor's tone was mocking now. What does history matter? We live in the present. History, Thelvar continued, is how you understand a species. Humans come from what we classify as a Class 12 Death World. Do you know what that means? Zethkor waved a hand dismissively. It means their home planet is dangerous. Many species come from difficult worlds. Earth is not just difficult. Another council member spoke up. This was Ambassador Yril, whose species valued caution above all else. It has weather that can destroy cities, animals that hunt in packs and alone, diseases that evolve faster than most species can track, gravity that would crush many races here. And humans survived all of it, with no natural armor, no venom, no enhanced strength. They survived by being clever, Zethkor said. That does not make them dangerous to us. Thelvar stepped forward slightly. The lighting in the chamber seemed to focus on him. Commander, I will be very clear. Humanity is under Council protection for a reason. They are a Death World species. They do not break when pressured. They adapt. They learn. They endure. If you attack them, you attack alone. The Council will not help you. The Council will not intervene. Zethkor looked around the chamber. Many species were nodding in agreement with Thelvar. This annoyed him greatly. The Council overprotects them because they are your pet project. You guide them like children, but they are adults now, and they take up space that stronger species need. We protect them, Thelvar said, and his voice carried something that might have been sadness, because we know what happens when someone makes them angry. We have seen it in their own history. They have fought wars against themselves that lasted generations. They have created weapons that could destroy their own planet. And yet, they survive. They always survive. Then they should understand that surrender is sometimes necessary, Zethkor replied. We will take Sector 7. If they resist, they will learn that the Kravathi Empire does not accept defiance. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Thelvar spoke one more time. Commander Zethkor, I will say this once more, and I suggest you remember it. Do not attack humanity. They are not what you think they are. This is not political posturing. This is not us protecting a favored species. This is a genuine warning. If you attack them, you will regret it. Zethkor turned and walked toward the exit. The Kravathi Empire does not take orders from a council that has grown soft. We will do what is necessary for our people. 3 days later, the Kravathi fleet arrived at New Jeju. It was a farming colony, home to 60,000 humans. The planet was beautiful, with golden fields and blue rivers. The colonists had built their settlements to blend with the natural landscape. From space, it looked peaceful and undefended. The defense coordinator for New Jeju was a woman named Minseo Park. She was in the command center when the sensors picked up the incoming fleet. 40 Kravathi warships, moving in formation. They were not hiding their approach. Get me a channel to the Kravathi commander, Minseo ordered. Her voice was calm, but her hands were already moving across the control panels. She was activating emergency protocols even as she spoke. The face of a Kravathi officer appeared on the screen. I am Sub-Commander Thalvor. You will surrender your colony to the Kravathi Empire. We claim this world by right of strength. This colony is protected by the Galaxy Council and by human law, Minseo said. You are violating both. Leave now, and this can be resolved peacefully, Thalvor laughed. You have no weapons that can harm us. You have no ships that can match ours. Surrender, and your people will be treated fairly under Kravathi rule. Minseo took a deep breath. She pressed a series of commands on her console. A message began transmitting on all emergency channels. It would reach the nearest human military base in 6 hours. It would reach Earth in 2 days. I'm afraid I cannot do that, she said. Then you choose the hard way, Thalvor replied. The transmission cut off. The Kravathi ships opened fire. Not on the settlements, not yet. They targeted the communications array first. The dishes exploded in bright flashes. Then they targeted the power stations. The colony went dark except for emergency systems. Minseo watched it happen. Her message had gotten out just in time. Now she had to keep her people alive until help arrived. She activated the colony-wide announcement system, which ran on backup power. This is Defense Coordinator Park. The colony is under attack. Initiate Survival Protocol 7. I repeat. Survival Protocol 7. Stay in your homes. Stay away from windows. Help is coming. Outside, the Kravathi troop carriers began their descent. Thousands of soldiers, ready to occupy a defenseless farming colony. They expected an easy victory. They expected gratitude. Even, many conquered species eventually thanked the Kravathi for bringing them into their empire. What they did not expect was that in 6 hours, a human military fleet would receive Minseo's message. They did not expect that the message contained detailed scans of their ships, their formations, and their tactics. They did not expect that every human who heard about the attack would remember it. And they definitely did not expect that the Galaxy Council's warning had been completely serious. The Kravathi had just made a terrible mistake. They simply did not know it yet. The Kravathi soldiers landed in the main settlement of New Jeju 3 hours after the bombardment. They marched through the streets in perfect formation, weapons ready. But there was no one to fight. The streets were empty. Doors were closed. Windows were shuttered. Sub-Commander Thalvor stood in what the humans called the town square. It was a circular area with gardens and benches where people could gather. Now, it was just him and his soldiers. He activated his translation device and spoke loudly. People of New Jeju, the Kravathi Empire now controls this colony. You will cooperate with us. In return, you will be treated fairly. You will continue your work. You will supply food to our ships. Resist, and there will be consequences. Silence. Not a single human appeared. This confused Thalvor. When they conquered other species, there was usually crying or anger, or at least questions. But humans just disappeared into their homes and stayed quiet. He sent soldiers door to door to count the population and explain the new rules. The first team returned an hour later. "Sir, the humans say they understand," one soldier reported. "They seem calm, almost too calm." "Good," Thalvor said. "Fear makes them obedient." But the soldier looked uncertain. "Sir, I do not think they are afraid. They look at us like they are waiting for something." The next day, problems began. Small problems at first. The water treatment facility stopped working. When Cravathi engineers examined it, they found that key components had been removed, not broken or destroyed, just gone. Then the farming equipment started failing. Tractors would not start. Irrigation systems leaked. Harvesting machines made strange noises and shut down. Every single piece of equipment had some issue. Thalvor ordered humans to fix the problems. They tried. Or at least they seemed to try. But repairs took a long time. Parts were missing. Tools could not be found. Workers showed up late, or sometimes not at all. When questioned, they always had reasonable explanations. Someone was sick, someone had to care for children, someone misunderstood the schedule. After a week, the Cravathi had accomplished almost nothing. The colony still ran on emergency power. Food production had stopped completely, and the humans remained polite, cooperative, and absolutely useless. "They are sabotaging us," one of Thalvor's officers said during a briefing. "I know that," Thalvor snapped. "But we have found no proof. They just work very slowly and badly." "We could make examples," another officer suggested. "Punish a few to motivate the others." Thalvor considered this. But Commander Zethkor had been clear. This was meant to be a peaceful occupation. Show the galaxy that Cravathi rule was beneficial. Violence now would make them look like brutes. "Not yet," he decided. "Give them more time to accept the situation." Meanwhile, 6 light-years away, Captain Ji-Hun Kang stood on the bridge of the UHSF Resolute. The Resolute was a heavy cruiser, built for long missions and hard fights. It was not the newest ship in the fleet, but it was reliable. And right now, Captain Kang was reading Min Seo Park's distress signal for the 5th time. "They attacked a farming colony," his first officer said quietly. The first officer was a woman named Sarah Chen. She had served with Kang for 8 years. 60,000 civilians. No military presence at all. Kreese. Kang nodded slowly. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped the edge of his command chair tightly. "How long until the 3rd Fleet is assembled?" 48 hours, sir. We are pulling ships from patrol routes and training exercises." "Not fast enough," Kang said, "but it will have to do. Make sure every ship receives the tactical data from New Jeju. I want to know everything about those Cravathi vessels." On Earth, in the capital city of Geneva, the human government held an emergency session. President Maria Santos stood before the assembled representatives from every human colony and territory. The room was packed. Everyone wanted to speak. "Order," President Santos called out. "We need order. I know everyone is angry. I am angry too. But we must think clearly." A representative from Mars stood up. "They attacked civilians without warning. This is an act of war. We must respond immediately." "We are responding," Santos said. "The 3rd Fleet is already moving. But we must also think beyond the immediate crisis. The Cravathi Empire is large. They have more ships than we do. This will not be a short conflict." "Then we fight a long conflict," another representative said. This one was from Titan. "They need to learn that humans do not surrender our people." Ambassador Yuki Tanaka, who represented humanity on the Galaxy Council, spoke up. I have received communication from Ambassador Thelvar. The Council held an emergency session 6 hours ago. They voted unanimously not to intervene in this conflict. The Cravathi were warned. And they attacked anyway. So we are alone? Someone asked. No. Tanaka said. We are not alone. The Council is not helping the Cravathi either. And Thelvar sent a personal message. She pulled up a screen and read from it. He says, and I quote, "We warned them. They did not listen. Now humanity will respond as humans do. We will observe. We will remember. And we will update our records accordingly." President Santos understood. The Council was giving humanity permission to handle this situation however they needed to. There would be no political consequences. No sanctions. No pressure to make peace before they were ready. Then we are agreed, Santos said. The Cravathi attacked our people. We will rescue our people. And we will make sure the Cravathi regret their decision. The vote was unanimous. Back on the Cravathi homeworld, Commander Zethkor received the report from New Jeju. The occupation was not going well. The humans were not fighting. But they were not cooperating either. And now his scouts reported human military ships moving toward the colony. Zethkor called a meeting with the Council of Elders. They were the leaders of the Cravathi Empire, old warriors who had won their positions through strength and wisdom. They listened to his report in silence. The humans are sending ships, Zethkor explained. A small fleet. Perhaps 20 vessels. Nothing we cannot handle. And the Galaxy Council? One of the elders asked. They will do nothing. Thelvar made dramatic warnings, but it was all talk. The Council is weak. They talk and debate but never act. Another elder leaned forward. What if the warnings were not talk? What if Thelvar meant what he said? Zethkor stood straighter. With respect, elder. Humans are not warriors. They are farmers and scientists and diplomats. They have fought no major wars in 3 generations. Their military exists for defense and pirate control. They will try to negotiate. And if they fight, they will lose quickly. The elders discussed this among themselves in their own language. Finally, the senior elder spoke. Very well. Send reinforcements to New Jeju. If the humans want to fight, we will show them why the Cravathi Empire has never lost a war. But be ready to offer them terms. We want their territory, not endless conflict. Zethkor bowed his head in respect. It will be done, elders. As he left the council chamber, Zethkor felt confident. The humans would arrive at New Jeju in 2 days. His reinforcements would be there in 1. The humans would see they were outnumbered and outgunned. They would negotiate, and the Cravathi Empire would gain 3 valuable colony worlds without much effort. He did not know that on the Resolute, Captain Kang was studying Cravathi tactics. He did not know that human strategists were analyzing every battle the Cravathi had ever fought. He did not know that the entire human military was shifting to a war footing for the first time in decades. And he definitely did not know that humans had learned, through thousands of years of fighting each other, how to win wars against enemies who were stronger, faster, and better armed. The Cravathi thought this would be easy. They thought humans would be like the other species they had conquered, weak-willed, quick to surrender. They were about to learn that humans were nothing like the other species, and the lesson was going to be painful. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Jeju system. 23 ships in total. Cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. On paper, they were outnumbered. The Cravathi had 40 warships now, after reinforcements arrived. Bigger ships, more weapons. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Kang watched the sensor displays. He could see every Cravathi ship. They were arranged in a standard defensive formation around the planet. Textbook, military positioning, strong and intimidating. They want us to see them, Sarah Chen said. They are trying to make us afraid. It is working a little, Kang admitted. But fear is useful. It makes you careful. He opened a channel to all human ships, all vessels. This is Kang. Initiate evacuation protocol. Defensive positions only. Do not fire unless fired upon. Sub-Commander Thalvor watched the human ships approach. They were moving slowly, cautiously. Good. They understood. They were outmatched. He opened a communication channel. Human vessels, this is Sub-Commander Thalvor of the Kravathi Empire. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Turn back now, or we will destroy you. Kang's face appeared on Thalvor's screen. The human looked calm, almost tired. Sub-Commander, we are here to evacuate our civilians. Allow us to do so, and we will discuss terms afterward. Right. Thalvor was surprised. The human was not demanding surrender or making threats. He was asking permission. This seemed weak. You want to abandon your colony? We want our people safe, Kang said simply. Let us take them, and no one needs to die today. Thalvor considered this. He sent a quick message to Commander Zethkor, who was now in the system aboard his flagship. The reply came back quickly. Let them evacuate. It shows weakness. Once their people are safe, they will have nothing to fight for. Very well, Thalvor said. You may approach the planet, but if any ship powers weapons, we will fire on all of you. Understood, Kang said. The human fleet moved into orbit. Transport ships descended to the surface. And this was when Thalvor began to understand something was wrong. The Kravathi started targeting the transports with weapon locks, standard intimidation. But the human warships immediately moved to block the targeting solutions. They put themselves between the transports and the Kravathi guns. They are shielding their transports with military vessels, one of Thalvor's officers said. They sacrifice tactical advantage to protect civilians. It is foolish, Thalvor replied, but he felt uncertain. Why would military ships risk themselves for non-combatants? It made no strategic sense. On the surface, Minseo Park stood in the town square as the first human transport landed. Marines came out first, weapons ready, scanning for threats. Then civilian evacuation teams. They were efficient and organized. A young Marine approached her. Ma'am, we need to get you on the first transport. Command wants you debriefed immediately. Minseo shook her head. I leave with the last group, not before. Ma'am, that's not. Those are my people, Minseo said firmly. I stay until they are all safe. The Marine looked at her for a moment, then nodded. Yes, ma'am. We will keep you safe. The evacuation took 14 hours. The Kravathi watched, but did not interfere. They saw thousands of humans boarding transports, leaving their homes behind, leaving their colony behind. Commander Zethkor sent a message to the elders. The humans are retreating. The colony is ours. Victory achieved with minimal conflict. But when the last transport lifted off, when the last civilian was in orbit, something changed. Captain Kang appeared on every Kravathi screen simultaneously. Every ship, every communication device on the planet's surface. Attention Kravathi forces. All civilians are now clear. You have 15 minutes to evacuate New Jeju. After that, we will retake our colony. Thalvor laughed. You have no civilians to protect now. Kang's expression did not change. You attacked our people without warning. You occupied our colony. You ignored the Galaxy Council's protection. We gave you a chance to leave. Now we give you 15 minutes. The transmission ended. Zethkor, aboard his flagship, was not worried. All ships, battle formation. When the humans attack, destroy them quickly. Minimize damage to the colony infrastructure. We will need it. 14 minutes passed. The human fleet remained in position. Not moving. Not powering weapons. Just waiting. Then the 15 minutes ended. The human fleet did not charge forward. They did not fire missiles or energy weapons. Instead, they split into 3 groups and accelerated in different directions. Fast. Faster than the Cravathi expected. The ships moved with precision, like they had practiced this exact maneuver 1,000 times. "They are running," one of Thalvor's officers shouted. "No," Thalvor said slowly. "They are not running. They are moving to attack positions." But which positions? That was when the first Cravathi supply ship exploded. It was at the edge of the system, far from the main battle. A human stealth ship had been waiting there. Hidden. Silent. Patient. They have stealth ships? Zethkor could not believe it. Their sensors had not detected anything. Then 3 more supply ships went dark. Not destroyed, just disabled. Engines dead. Communications cut. The human ships disappeared again before the Cravathi could respond. "Find them," Zethkor ordered. All ships. Full sensor sweep. But the Cravathi sensors found nothing. Meanwhile, the main human fleet was doing something strange. They were not attacking the Cravathi warships. Instead, they were targeting the orbital stations that the Cravathi had set up. Small stations. Barely defended. The humans destroyed them in minutes and moved on before the main Cravathi fleet could respond. They are avoiding direct combat, Thalvor realized. They hit targets we cannot defend and run before we can engage. Then we force them to fight, Zethkor said. All ships. Pursue the human fleet. Run them down. The Cravathi fleet split up to chase the human groups. This was exactly what Kang wanted. When the Cravathi ships spread out, they lost their formation strength, and human ships were faster in small-scale maneuvers. A group of 5 Cravathi destroyers chased 3 human frigates. The human ships led them toward an asteroid field. The Cravathi followed, confident they would corner their prey. But when they entered the field, the human ships suddenly stopped running. They turned and fired. Not at the Cravathi ships, but at specific asteroids. The asteroids exploded, sending debris in calculated directions. The Cravathi ships had to scatter to avoid the debris, breaking their formation. That was when the human ships attacked. Quick, precise strikes at weak points. Engines, communication arrays, weapon systems. Not trying to destroy the Cravathi ships, just disable them. Then the human ships vanished into the asteroid field again. What kind of tactic is this? One Cravathi captain demanded over the communication channel. The answer was simple. It was human tactics. Humans had fought wars against themselves for thousands of years. They had learned that you do not always need to be stronger. Sometimes, you need to be smarter, faster, more adaptable. Over the next 6 hours, the battle became a nightmare for the Cravathi. Their ships were faster in straight lines, but slower in turns. Their weapons were more powerful, but less accurate at close range. Their formations were strong, but required coordination. And the humans attacked every weakness. Stealth ships hit supply lines. Fast ships drew Cravathi vessels into traps. The main fleet never stayed in one place long enough for the Cravathi to mass their forces. And every time the Cravathi adapted to one tactic, the humans switched to something new. By the time the sun rose over New Jeju the next day, the Cravathi had lost 12 ships. Not destroyed, but disabled and adrift. The human fleet had lost 1 destroyer. And more importantly, the Cravathi ground forces on New Jeju were now cut off from resupply and reinforcements. Commander Zethkor sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. This was not how the battle was supposed to go. The Cravathi Empire had never faced an enemy like this. Enemies either fought honorably or surrendered. They did not do whatever it took to win. "Pull back," he ordered finally. "Retreat to high orbit. We need to regroup." But as the Cravathi fleet withdrew, Zethkor sent an emergency message to the homeworld. The message said, "We need more ships. The humans are not what we expected. Send everything you can." On the Resolute, Sarah Chen looked at the sensor data. "Sir, the Cravathi are retreating." "We won." "No," Kang said quietly. "We won this battle. The war just started, and they will come back with more ships. He looked at his crew. Good work, everyone. But prepare for the next fight. It will be harder. In the Galaxy Council chambers, Ambassador Thelvar watched the battle reports. Another council member approached him. Should we intervene? The council member asked. No, Thelvar said. We warned the Cravathi. They chose not to listen. Now they learn what it means to fight a species that survived a death world. He paused. I do not think they will listen to warnings anymore. But they will. Humans are very good teachers when they need to be. 3 weeks. That was how long the war lasted, before everything changed. The Cravathi Empire sent more ships to fight the humans. Much more. They pulled vessels from every sector they controlled. 100 warships, then 200. They were not taking chances anymore. This was a full military response. But something strange kept happening. Every battle taught the humans something new. And humans learned fast. In the second week, the Cravathi tried a new formation designed to counter human hit-and-run tactics. It was a brilliant formation, developed by their best strategic minds. It worked perfectly. For exactly 3 battles. By the 4th battle, human ships had adapted. They found the weak spots in the new formation and exploited them ruthlessly. How do they learn so quickly? A Cravathi admiral demanded during a strategy meeting. We take years to develop new tactics. They counter them in days. They share information? An intelligence officer explained. Every human ship sends detailed battle reports to every other human ship. Every captain studies every engagement. They treat each battle like a classroom. Commander Zethkor stared at the tactical displays, showing the current state of the war. The Cravathi had more ships, better weapons, but they were losing ground. This should not be possible, he said quietly. On New Jeju, the situation on the ground was even worse for the Cravathi occupiers. The human civilians were gone, but human soldiers had landed. Not in massive numbers, but in small teams. They moved at night. They struck without warning. They made the Cravathi afraid of the dark. Commander Sujin Lee led one of these teams. She had 12 soldiers with her, against 3,000 Cravathi troops in the main settlement. On paper, it was suicide. But Sujin had studied Cravathi psychology. She knew what scared them. Cravathi were pack fighters. They felt safe in groups. They relied on overwhelming force and direct confrontation. So Sujin did the opposite. Her teams attacked supply depots at night. They sabotaged equipment. They cut communication lines. They never stayed in one place. They never fought fair. After 1 week of this, the Cravathi ground forces were exhausted. They slept in shifts, always watching for shadows. Every sound made them nervous. They started shooting at things that were not there. Morale collapsed. Sub-Commander Thalvor tried to restore order. He organized patrols. He set up defensive perimeters. He used every tactic from the Cravathi military handbook, but the handbook assumed enemies who followed rules. Humans did not follow any rules except winning. One night, Thalvor's command post came under attack. Not from gunfire or explosives, from sound. Human soldiers had surrounded the building and played audio recordings at high volume. The recordings were of Cravathi distress calls, wounded soldiers, dying commanders, mixed with human voices speaking in broken Cravathi. We are coming. We are patient. We are always watching. We are coming. We are coming. We are coming. It was psychological warfare. It was cruel. It was effective. Thalvor sent a message to Commander Zethkor. I cannot hold New Jeju with current forces. The humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They treat war like hunting. Request immediate reinforcement or permission to withdraw. The reply was simple. Hold position. Retreat is not an option. Reinforcements are coming. But the reinforcements never made it to New Jeju. Because in the 3rd week, Humanity launched Operation Counterstrike. Human intelligence had spent 2 weeks studying captured Cravathi technology and intercepted communications. They mapped every Cravathi military installation in 3 sectors: every supply depot, every repair station, every communication relay. Everything. And then, on the same day, at the same hour, human fleets attacked all of them. Simultaneously. Not the Cravathi homeworld. Humans were not conquerors. They did not want Cravathi territory, but they wanted the Cravathi military eliminated as a threat. So they went after the infrastructure that made the Cravathi military possible. The operation required coordination across dozens of human fleets. It required precise timing. It required taking enormous risks. But humans had been planning this operation from the moment the war started. Every battle had been gathering information. Every engagement had been preparation for this moment. At the Cravathi Military Command Center on their homeworld, alarms blared from every console. Reports flooded in from across their empire. Human ships here. Human ships there. Stations going dark. Supply convoys under attack. Communication networks failing. The Council of Elders was summoned immediately. They gathered in their war room, a chamber where they had celebrated countless victories. Now they watched their military fall apart on the tactical displays. How many ships do the humans have? 1, Elder demanded. We estimate 70 to 90 combat vessels, an admiral replied. But they are striking at locations we thought were too distant for them to reach. They must have been positioning ships for weeks. And our forces? Scattered. Chasing human fleets across multiple systems. We have more ships, but they are not where we need them. The senior elder stood slowly. He was old, even for a Cravathi. He had led the empire through 3 successful wars, but he had never seen anything like this. How long can our military function without the installations they are targeting? Go. The admiral hesitated. Days, perhaps. Without repair stations, damaged ships cannot be fixed. Without supply depots, ships run out of fuel and ammunition. Without communication relays, we cannot coordinate fleet movements. Days, the elder repeated. The humans have been at war with us for 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, they have learned enough to dismantle a military that took us 2 centuries to build. Another elder spoke up. We still have the advantage in numbers. If we recall all ships and defend our core territories— No, the senior elder interrupted. Look at what they have done. They do not want our territory. They want us broken, unable to threaten them again. He turned to Commander Zethkor, who stood silently in the corner. You told us humans were weak, that they would negotiate or surrender quickly. Zethkor had no answer. Everything he believed about humans had been wrong. Ambassador Thelvar tried to warn us, the elder continued. He said, humans do not break. They adapt. He said they are dangerous. The elder's 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of resignation. We did not listen. And now, we pay the price. When pedodados. When pedodados. When pedodados. When pedodados. We did not listen because life. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Kang watched the operation unfold. So far, everything was going according to plan. Human losses were minimal. Cravathi military capability was dropping by the hour. Sarah Chen approached him. Sir, we are receiving a transmission. It is from the Cravathi homeworld. They want to discuss terms. Kang nodded slowly. Already? I thought they would fight longer. They understand what we are doing, Sarah said. Every hour they wait, they lose more infrastructure. Eventually, they will have nothing left to negotiate with. Connect me to the human diplomatic team on Earth, Kang ordered. This is not a military decision anymore. Hours later, a secure channel opened between Earth and the Cravathi homeworld. President Santos appeared on one screen. The Cravathi Council of Elders on another. "We wish to discuss ceasefire terms," the senior elder said. There was no arrogance in his voice now. Just exhaustion. "A ceasefire requires certain conditions," Santos replied. Her voice was calm and professional. "First, all Cravathi forces must withdraw from New Jeju and all human territories immediately. Second, all human prisoners must be released. Third, the Cravathi Empire must pay reparations for damages caused to our colony. And if we agree to these terms?" the elder asked. "Then we stop attacking your military installations. We return to our own space, and we never speak of this again." The elder was quiet for a moment. "You could destroy us completely. Why offer mercy?" "Rude. Rude." Santos leaned forward slightly. "Because we are not conquerors. We did not start this war. We do not want your territory or your resources. We want to be left alone. But if you ever threaten our people again, this mercy will not be offered a second time." The message was clear. Humans were showing restraint now. But that restraint was a choice, not a weakness. "We accept your terms," the elder said finally. But as the transmission ended, the elder sat alone in the war room, looking at the displays. The war was over, yes, but the lesson would last forever. The Cravathi Empire had been one of the strongest military powers in the galaxy. And in 3 weeks, humans had reduced them to requesting peace. 3 weeks. The elder thought about Ambassador Thelvar's warning, about how humans survived a death world with no natural weapons, about how they adapted and endured. The warning had not been about human technology or human numbers. It had been about human nature. Humans did not fight like other species. They fought to win. They learned from every mistake. They adapted to every challenge. And most importantly, they did not stop until the threat was eliminated. The Cravathi had learned this lesson. But the price had been their military, their pride, and their reputation. The elder wondered if any other species in the galaxy would make the same mistake. He hoped not. Because now everyone would know what happens when you ignore the Galaxy Council's warning about humanity. The peace conference took place on a neutral station orbiting a lifeless moon. No weapons were allowed. No military personnel except for small security details. Just diplomats, translators, and witnesses from the Galaxy Council. Ambassador Thelvar attended, not as a mediator but as an observer. He sat in the back of the room, watching as President Santos and the Cravathi Council of Elders signed the formal peace agreement. His expression, as always, revealed nothing. But inside, he felt something close to sadness. The terms were clear. The Cravathi Empire would withdraw from all human territories. They would release all prisoners without exception. They would pay reparations totaling 5 billion galactic credits for the damage to New Jeju and the loss of life. They would also reduce their military by 50% over the next 10 years, with Galaxy Council observers monitoring compliance. But the final term was the most significant. The Cravathi Empire formally acknowledged that they had violated Galaxy Council protections, ignored repeated warnings, and initiated an unprovoked war. This acknowledgement would be recorded in Council archives forever. Every species would read it. Every species would know. Commander Zethkor was not present at the signing. He had been removed from command and was awaiting trial on his homeworld. His career was over. His reputation destroyed. But Zethkor had learned something in those 3 weeks of war. He had learned that strength is not just about weapons or numbers. Sometimes, strength is about knowing when not to fight. Sub-Commander Thalvor stood at attention behind the Cravathi elders. He had been evacuated from New Jeju during the ceasefire. He had not slept well since then. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the sounds of that night. Human voices in the darkness, the psychological warfare, the feeling of being hunted. After the signing, the senior Cravathi elder approached Ambassador Thelvar privately. The ancient alien looked at the old Cravathi warrior with those black, expressionless eyes. "You tried to warn us," the elder said quietly. "You told us exactly what would happen, and we called it political posturing." "I know," Thelvar replied. "I have seen this before. Not with humans specifically, but with species who ignored warnings about other Deathworld races. Pride is a dangerous advisor. Why did you not tell us more clearly? Why not explain in detail what humans could do?" 1. Thelvar tilted his head slightly. "Would you have believed me if I had described exactly what happened in this war? Would you have thought I was being truthful or trying to scare you?" The elder had no answer. Because Thelvar was right. If he had described human tactics, human adaptability, human determination, it would have sounded like exaggeration, like propaganda designed to protect a favored species. "There is something I still do not understand," the elder said. "Why do humans fight so effectively? They have no natural weapons. They are physically weaker than most warrior species. What makes them so dangerous?" Thelvar was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke carefully. "Humans have fought wars against themselves for thousands of years. Before they reached the stars, they perfected the art of killing other humans. They know every tactic, every strategy, every psychological trick. They know war intimately because they have practiced it on each other." He paused. "And because they know the cost of war so well, they prefer not to fight. But when they do fight, they use everything they have learned. Every lesson from every human war in their history." The elder absorbed this information. "So they are peaceful because they understand violence." "Exactly," Thelvar said. "And that understanding makes them more dangerous than species who see war as glory or ritual. Humans see war as problem-solving. They study the problem, adapt to it, and solve it as efficiently as possible. I wish we had understood this before we attacked them. That is why the Council protects them," Thelvar said. "Not because they need protection from others. Because others need protection from what happens when you threaten them." Several days later, Captain Ji-hun Kang stood in the rebuilt town square of New Jeju. Reconstruction was already underway. Human engineering teams had arrived within hours of the Cravathi withdrawal. They worked quickly, efficiently. Within a month, the colony would be functional again. Within a year, it would be better than before. Min Seo Park walked over to him. She had a tablet in her hand, showing construction schedules and resource allocations. "Captain Kang, the civilian government wants to award you and your crew medals for the evacuation and liberation of New Jeju." Kang shook his head. "We were doing our job, protecting our people. That does not require medals." "Still," Minseo said, "what you did saved lives. You could have attacked immediately, but you evacuated civilians first. That decision mattered." "Of course we evacuated first," Kang said, looking at her with mild confusion. "They were civilians. They were what we were fighting for. What kind of military would we be if we risked the people we are supposed to protect?" Minseo smiled slightly. The Cravathi did not understand that. They thought protecting civilians was a weakness. "Then they do not understand humans at all," Kang replied. "We fight to protect, not to conquer. There is a difference." Across the galaxy, news of the war spread quickly. Every species heard the story. The Cravathi Empire, a major military power, had attacked a human colony. The Galaxy Council had warned them not to. They attacked anyway, and in 3 weeks, humanity had dismantled the Cravathi military machine. 3 weeks. Some wars lasted years. This one lasted 3 weeks. In council chambers, on trade stations, in diplomatic meetings, species talked about what happened. And slowly, a phrase began circulating in various languages. When translated to human languages, it came out as, "Do not anger the Deathworlders." Some aggressive species that had been planning expansion into human space quietly canceled those plans. Some pirates who operated near human shipping lanes found new territories. Some political groups that had questioned whether humans deserved council protection suddenly had no more questions, and the Galaxy Council updated their official records. Next to humanity's entry, they added new classifications: warning level, maximum, threat assessment, extreme, if provoked, recommended action, diplomatic engagement only, military engagement strongly discouraged. Ambassador Thelvar reviewed these updates personally. He added one final note to the record: humanity is a death-world species that has fought itself for millennia. They understand war better than most species. They prefer peace. But if forced to fight, they will use every tactic, every strategy, every lesson from their violent history. They adapt quickly. They learn constantly. They do not surrender easily. They protect their people above all else. Approach with respect and honesty, never with threats. 1 year later, at a Galaxy Council session, a young species requested permission to establish trade relations with humanity. The request was approved unanimously, but before the young species left, Ambassador Thelvar approached their representative. "A word of advice," Thelvar said. "Humans are excellent trade partners. They are honest, creative, and reliable. But if you ever have a dispute with them, resolve it through words and negotiation, never through threats or violence." "Why?" the young representative asked. "Are humans really as dangerous as the stories say?" Thelvar gestured to a datapad showing the historical record of the Cravathi War. "This is not a story. This is what happens when someone ignores warnings about humanity. The Cravathi were a powerful empire. Now, they are a diminished power that will take generations to recover. And the humans did this not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice." The representative read the report, eyes widening. 3 weeks? 3 weeks. Thelvar confirmed. "Remember this when you negotiate with them. Treat them with respect. Honor your agreements. And never, ever make them feel threatened." On Earth, in a small apartment in Seoul, Min Seo Park sat with her family. She had returned from New Jeju for a brief visit before going back to resume her duties as defense coordinator. Her daughter, who was 7 years old, asked her about the war. "Mom, why did the aliens attack us?" Min Seo thought about how to answer. "They thought we were weak. They thought we would not fight back. But we did fight back? Yes. We did what we had to do to protect our people." "Are the aliens sorry they attacked us?" Min Seo smiled sadly. "I think so, honey. I think they are very sorry." Her daughter was quiet for a moment. "Will other aliens try to attack us?" "I do not think so," Min Seo said. "Because now they all know what happens when you attack humans. We do not start fights, but we finish them." This was the lesson that spread across the galaxy. Humanity was not aggressive. They did not seek conquest. They preferred trade, diplomacy, and peaceful cooperation. But if you threatened them, if you attacked their people, if you ignored the warnings about what they could do, then you would learn. You would learn that humans came from a world that tried to kill them every day. You would learn that they survived through adaptation and determination. You would learn that they had fought wars against themselves and knew every trick, every tactic, every strategy. You would learn that they protected their own above everything else. You would learn that they did not break easily. You would learn that they remembered every lesson from every fight. And most importantly, you would learn that when the Galaxy Council warned you about something, they were not making political statements. They were trying to help you avoid a terrible mistake. The Cravathi had learned this lesson. They had paid for it with their military strength, their reputation, and their pride. The lesson had cost them everything. And now, across the galaxy, every species knew one simple truth. Do not ignore the Galaxy Council's warning about humanity, because if you do, humanity will make you pay.